There's nobody here to play with. Hey, welcome back to another conversation with an old intern. Today, we've got a great conversation lined up with Emily, who was an intern in the summer of 2017 with Hunter. Emily, you may also know her as Mrs. Bourbon. If you went to BCS, she was a choir teacher there. And now she and her husband Isaac live in Abilene. And we had a great conversation about Journey. Some things have changed for her, and it was great to hear her perspective. So go ahead and enjoy this conversation with Emily.
Hey, Rock Youth Ministry family. Glad you're here today. We're continuing our conversations with Old Interns, and today we have Emily Bourbon with us, and I'm excited that Emily's here. She interned with us in the summer of 2017. And some of you may know her also from Brentwood Christian School. So, hey, Em, how's it going?
Hey, it's going really good. I liked that you were like old interns. I feel really old. It makes me feel old that it was already like 3 years ago. So
yeah, such a long time, such a long time.
So
well, what's
long.
been going on with you since we've last seen you?
So probably since the last time most people saw me, which I guess would have been in December at the end of school, we've moved to Abilene because Isaac is doing grad school at ACU. And I taught music for a little bit here in public schools. It was pretty fun. And then COVID happened, and like all of this stuff happened at once where COVID started. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And also I started a new job, like all within probably a few weeks. And so it was a lot, but also like things have calmed down now. And we're just, both me and Isaac are really enjoying living in Abilene and doing what we do here.
Yeah. Well, 2020, right? Like, what other year could all that stuff happen to you all at once, right? So,
yeah.
So how has that affected your journey? Because we've been talking about Journey, not Jeremy. Let me do that again. We've been talking about Journey all summer long. And how has that affected you, like to have not only COVID that the rest of the world is dealing with, but those are two pretty big personal things to have happen, to have that type of diagnosis and to switch jobs. How has that been affecting you on your journey with God?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I've tried to think about this, like, where's the good in all of this? And so I think, man, sorry, it's a lot to process. But so initially, like when I was diagnosed, I'd been sick for so long that I was in a pretty dark place, just because I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good enough to like go do things with friends or family. And so then I was like isolated, not feeling good. I didn't feel like myself for a really long time. And so just getting a diagnosis and like getting to where I felt better physically was such a blessing to me. And honestly, all of the timing was perfect too. And so I did see God in that. Like it was right when we moved to Abilene, which my parents live close to here. And so they were able to stay with Isaac and I like that whole time that was happening. It was actually spring break and then went like straight into COVID happening. And so I didn't have to go back to work. So I was just like at home resting and recovering. And then I've just seen God's guidance in all of this, like not even knowing really what direction I'm supposed to be going, but just taking it like one step at a time and just trusting that those things that you feel like you're being led to do are the right things, even if you don't see how it's going to fit together, like in the big picture of things, like those little choices that are the right things to be doing. I saw those start to kind of come together. And so I found a job that I really wanted, and I applied for one job and I got it. And that has never happened to me before. And so I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And then like a couple of children that are on my caseload, because I'm essentially doing like CPS work, have type 1 diabetes, and I didn't choose that. And so I'm able to help them in that way. And and like there are other things that happen too, but I've definitely seen like God's grace and like giving me healing even when I didn't have any idea what was wrong with me, and also just like carving this path that I would have not chosen for myself, but it has been like the best thing possible.
Yeah. So you talk about your physical well-being, and I if I'm hearing you right, there's some correlation there with our spiritual well-being. How have you seen those two things
Yeah.
really working together for you?
Yeah, I mean, like that's something that I've thought about a lot, and it's really interesting. And I think there is a piece there where, you know, God did become flesh. And
Yeah.
so like God is, and he also dwells in us. So our bodies aren't separate from our spirits all the time. Like we like to think of them sometimes as being completely separate, but I
Yeah.
don't think they are.
Oh no, you froze. Dun dun dun.
And so even with, okay, are we back? Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, those were like highly connected for me. I think, I don't know, like my body was like literally deteriorating. Like I lost so much weight and was just like not in a good place. And so along with that, like there was just so much like loss of hope almost. And like kind of a feeling of like, oh, this is what life is like. Like I always feel tired. I'm always sad. I can't be around people very much. And so it was just like a really hopeless feeling. And so that definitely affected my spiritual life. And it was hard for me because I felt like I couldn't see God in that, and I didn't know what the problem was. So,
Yeah.
but then again, like healing and like receiving that healing was so much of an act of grace for me too. And so it worked out.
Yeah, for sure. I like how you say, you know, we don't think about those two things being together all the time, but God didn't make just a body and just a spirit. Like those two things go together. And I think our physical health, and that does have a huge impact on our faith. So you talk about your diagnosis, and now you're in a much better place physically. You found some healing. You're well. You look great.
Thanks.
But like, how, and you talked a little bit about your two children that were in your caseload that are in the same situation. So how has that been, knowing that even though you've had something difficult happen, that God has been able to use that in a really positive way? How has that worked for you?
Yeah, it's been so cool. Like I just wouldn't be in the same position to help them if this wouldn't have happened, you know? And so like, it's been incredible. And other things have happened like that too. Like I do a lot of artwork. And so I have an Instagram account with my art on it. And it's kind of like, like diabetic themed, as weird as that sounds. But it was like kind of a way to cope with it. And so, and one day I was talking to Isaac and I was like, one day I want to make a coloring book for kids with type 1 diabetes where they feel like normalized and they know that they're not alone. And then like a few days later, a girl from Austin reached out to me and asked me to do a coloring book for kids with type 1 diabetes. And so like, there's like so much, like I truly do feel like this is becoming like my ministry, is to help people. And really like what I experienced, like physical healing happening did help me heal spiritually too. And so if I can help other people with that, then I think it's worth it. Even though it's not fun to not eat sugar.
For sure. Well, I think that speaks to us as a people, right? That like you wouldn't have that same ministry, like you said, had you not been experiencing that in your own life. And I think as far as journey goes, we need people who experience things that we experience. We need people who can relate to us, because sometimes we just feel kind of isolated and alone. So was there a time going through that? And I don't mean for this whole conversation to be about that, but
No,
but
okay.
was there a time when you kind of felt that and were looking for some other people that had been through similar things?
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely like the time that I had diabetes and didn't know it, which was probably like at least a year and a half, was kind of also like at a time where I just had a lot of questions. And so it was like kind of everything combined. And so I definitely found people who, I guess were either kind of questioning things. And for me, it wasn't even questioning, like, does God exist? Or like, was Jesus real? It was just kind of making sense of like, how does this work with everything in the world? And so I found people who were either going through those things, or the ones that gave me the most hope were the people on the other side of that. And so that was really important to have that, and to have people who had been through that before. I don't even know with the diabetes thing. I don't think I knew what was wrong with me. And so I didn't know to seek people out who had been through that.
Yeah. So you said something really beautiful there, where you said hope, I'm going to paraphrase, hope is found in people who are on the other side of things. So what would you say to middle school, high school students who, you know, they may not be facing a physical illness or sickness right now, but maybe they are feeling kind of that loneliness, that I'm on this journey with God, yet I feel alone and I don't know. What would you say to students like that today?
Well, I mean, first, I've definitely been there too. And it feels really hard sometimes. And the first thing I think is that you're not alone. Like, everyone seems like they have it together, and it's easy to look around. I did something weird with Zoom, but it's easy to look around and think that everyone else has it together and you don't, but that's never true. Everyone is going through their own things, and has questions. We're all human. And the other thing is, I think just don't give up. Like, there will be a better time. And so I think, especially, like, a lot of people, when they start doubting and having questions, give up on God or just like walk away. And that makes me really sad, because it's so worth it if you continue to like ask the hard questions and actually seek the answers, even though it's the harder route. It's so worth it in the end. So I would just say, like, keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah. I talk to my kids. I have a 9-year-old and a 4.5-year-old, you know, and we talk even about simple things, about the idea of just doing what's right the first time and doing what's difficult the first time. So that way you don't have to continue in that. If you are able to ask those questions and you're able to push forward in your faith, you should go ahead and do that, because otherwise it's just going to be more and more difficult as we continue to kind of push on in those things. So,
yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, Em, is there anything else you want to say to our youth group? Anything else that you want to share? What do you got for us?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I guess I miss all of you guys. And so feel free to call or text me. And if you don't have my number, James can give it to you. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today, and thanks for sharing part of your journey.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully see you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.